apa itu nenek apa namanya bakteri nenek moyang kita dulu awalnya makan belerang. Apa kita ya tiru-tiru mau niru nenek moyang kita yang makan belerang ya monggo silakan gitu. Jadi waktu itu terus kemudian saya di Twitter itu mencoba menyampaikan bahwa kita ini bukan hanya homo, kita itu juga masuk dalam keluarga besar The Great Apes. Nah itu bedes itu.
Iya, kera besar.
Nah bedes itu, nah saya selalu menyebut kata bedes sapien, bedes itu di Twitter. Nah mereka malah balik manggil saya dokter bedes. Ya.
Kayaknya jadi dok deh.
Ya nggak apa-apa juga. Itu awalnya dokter bedes.
Oke. Ternyata dari situ, itu berarti baru tahun 2014.
2014.
Kira ya.
Saya nge-tweet, setiap kali saya nge-tweet itu menyebut manusia itu sebagai bedes. Gitu.
Iya.
Supaya ya kita
mengingat kekerabatan.
Mengenalkan bahwa kita memang bedes gitu.
Oke. Di sini berarti kita mau ngomongin soal kebahagiaannya bedes-bedes ini. Jadi kita mau ngomongin happiness, kita mau ngomongin kebahagiaan. Di mana salah satu kutipan ya yang paling sering muncul tentang kebahagiaan adalah money don't buy happiness gitu katanya. Uang nggak bisa membeli kebahagiaan, tapi kemudian dijawab lagi oleh netizen ya, waktu itu ada yang ngomong ya itu mah karena yang ngomong udah kaya banget katanya, gitu Mas Rio. Nah dari ilmu tentang otak ya kan, dari ilmu neuroscience, sebenarnya kebahagiaan ini kita udah bisa memahami nggak sih apa itu kebahagiaan kalau secara neuroscience, dan misalnya faktor-faktor apa sebenarnya yang bisa bikin manusia itu bahagia ya kan, dan apa pendapat Mas Rio tentang si kutipan tadi? Mungkin boleh mulai dari situ.
Yang pertama, pernyataan bahwa uang tidak bisa membeli kebahagiaan. Saya setuju kalau uangnya dikit. Kalau banyak bisa. Beneran ini.
Gitu ya Mas?
Beneran itu. Jadi kalau uang sedikit mungkin nggak bisa. Kalau uang banyak kemungkinan besar bisa membeli kebahagiaan itu. Jadi kutipannya itu adalah uang tidak bisa membeli kebahagiaan kalau sedikit. Kalau banyak kayaknya bisa deh gitu. Oke, nih nanti kita bahas kenapa yang namanya uang itu bisa membeli kebahagiaan.
Ya.
Apakah neuroscience ataukah manusia zaman sekarang atau saintis sekarang memahami apa itu kebahagiaan? Oh ya sudah jelas paham gitu. Jadi kebahagiaan itu sendiri
deepening wound. They had to do this every single day. They had to get to the point where a fist-sized chunk of flesh was missing from their hip.
What?
This would work. This had to work. They had to die. And you have to do what you have to do. I mean, who does that? And how does this injury help this person kill an entire family? A lot of questions.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening.
Somebody is hurting themselves. They're taking out a fist-sized chunk of their own flesh. And this is all in the ploy to kill the Allenson family.
Okay.
And it all comes together in the end. Now, you're probably wondering, what is it about the Allensons? What do they have? I mean, are they the rich business conglomerates that have screwed over thousands of employees, that have ruined climates everywhere? Like, who are these people? The Allenson family really weren't that special. And I mean that in a good way. They weren't like these massive business moguls. They weren't these powerful politicians that got a little bit too greedy. They didn't know anything. They didn't have a dirty secret. They didn't know anybody else's dirty secrets. There was no reason for anyone to want a single one of them dead, especially not all 3 generations of the Allinson family. I mean, sure, they had their family drama, but who doesn't? And in order for this story to make sense, I have to tell you a bit about the family drama. We're starting with the 2nd generation of the Allinson family. Not literally, but in terms of this case. Now, this is the 2nd generation that is soon going to be victimized by whoever out there is against the whole family. We have Walter Jr. and his wife, Carolyn. Now, originally, when they started dating, it's hard to say if they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. I doubt either of them really knew, but Carolyn fell pregnant and they just kind of went with it. Both of them were only 19. Walter was serving in the army in World War II, and I mean, obviously it's not ideal, but they try. You have to give it to them for trying. Carolyn gave birth to their first son, Seaborn Walter Thomas Allinson. It's like I don't even know how that fits on a line on a birth certificate, but it did. He goes by Tommy for short. And in general, what went from being a super determined relationship quickly just started crumbling. I mean, having a kid is only going to amplify the problems that the couple are already having. They're young. They have no money. One of them is fighting in a world war to support him, to support his dreams. She's got a young kid at home. She herself is so young. But right when the light at the end of the tunnel felt so close, Walter had just graduated. He got his license to practice. He was ready to start his career. And maybe Carolyn could take a step back from work for a second. But no, the Korean War struck and Walter was called upon to serve. When that was over, Walter comes back home in his uniform, confused. He's over 30 years old and his whole life has been spent fighting wars. There's no mention if he had debilitating PTSD, so I don't know what he saw in these 2 wars. But even if he didn't go straight into the battle lines, imagine, you feel like the best years of your life, they've just been stolen. Does anybody care? No. They're like, you're 30 and you don't have your shit together? That's crazy. So you're still expected to be as successful, as well-adjusted as everybody else in their 30s. Maybe that's why Walter was a bit of a stubborn guy. He was a super no-nonsense type of dude. He felt like 30 years are gone, so I'm going to live my life exactly the way that I want to. What's interesting is that the feeling really only applied to himself. You would think that most people would realize how precious life is and would want everybody around them to live it the way that they want, but not Walter. He said 30 years of my life is gone, so everyone's going to live the life that I want them to live. He was one of those people that also never apologized for being himself. And what Walter really wanted to do was be a good attorney. He wasn't that successful. He mainly dealt with wills, divorces, contracts. He was moderately doing okay. His family was not upper class comfortable by any means, but they were comfortable. They never have to worry about putting food on the table. Even Walter's son, Tom, was able to get a private education. That's pretty good. So now, enter into the picture, Tom Allinson. This is the 3rd generation of the family that somebody wants dead.
That's Tommy, right?
Yeah, little Tommy. Tom had a very different perspective growing up. He felt like his dad was always working, always studying his entire freaking life. Both of his parents worked nonstop, and even when they were home, they were not fuzzy, warm, cute parents. It's debatable that they were outright abusive. But for sure, they just didn't seem that interested in their own son. Walter's version of the best off day was to go fishing by himself without Tommy, his son. If somebody suggested, hey, why don't you, your son looks so bored, why don't you bring your son, have like a little daddy-son bonding day fishing, woo, he would just say, why? He's just going to be a nuisance. There's no point. Carolyn, the mom, was a bit more loving, but she always let her husband take the lead when it came to parenting. So remember how I said that the Allinsons were probably not abusive, or debatably? No need to debate anymore. Let me tell you about the neighborly dinner. The Schaefers lived down the street. And the Allinsons thought, well, what better way to get to know the neighbors than invite them over for dinner? So come on over, Schaefers. We'll do the cooking. Bring your children with you. So the Schaefer couple, they had 2 daughters, Mary and Dodie. They were about Tom's age, which was, kind of perfect. So the kids would be at the end of the table just chit-chatting. The 4 adults would be sitting at the head of the table just chit-chatting. Now, the 2 Schaefer girls, they would later admit that they thought Tom was super cute. They kind of even flirted with him at the dinner table, but when you're 10, I don't even know what that is. It's probably like, are you gonna eat your potatoes? Can I have a bite of your potato? You know what I mean? It's not this creepy, like, oh my God, you're coming on so strong. Come on, there's parents. It's not gonna be that type of flirting, right? Tom is 10, but he's a gentleman about it. He doesn't really flirt back. He doesn't cause a scene, nothing. I mean, for crying out loud, he's 10. What even is flirting? He was so calm. But for whatever reason, Walter's watching this. He wasn't even paying attention to the adult conversations anymore. His face was slowly turning red. And while everyone was deep in conversation, Walter barked out, "Tommy, get over here!" Silence. Tommy looked at his lap, slowly got up. Silently, everyone was holding their breath, watching. I mean, what is this? Walter was making quite the scene. Tom walked over and stood behind his dad, Walter, who remained seated, and Walter refused to even make eye contact with Tommy. He just slapped him right across the face in front of everyone. Walter slapped Tommy so hard that there was a red handprint on Tommy's cheek. Tom used every single eye muscle in his body, which there's like 6, but he used them all to try and not cry. He felt so embarrassed. I mean, imagine this feeling. So Tom is beelining it to leave the dining room, but he hears, "No, sit back down." So he turns around, face bright red, holding back tears, and he sits back down on his chair, refusing to look at anyone. It was clear that every single person but Walter was incredibly uncomfortable. Mary and Dodie, the two 10-year-old girls, they wanted to spare Tom his embarrassment. So they asked their mom, "Mom, can we go home early? We have a lot of homework to do." And Mrs. Schaefer responded, "Sure, but only if Tommy will see to it that you return home safely." So she's giving Tom a get out of an awkward situation free card.
Wow.
Everybody looks at Walter, who says, "All right, but you better be home within 20 minutes. Tom said that most of the walk was pretty silent. The girls had tried to cut the tension by saying things like, "Wow, your dad's kind of an asshole." I think parents embarrassing their kid in front of their friends, is one of the biggest acts of betrayal
Yeah,
to your
and
kid.
the trauma though.
Yes.
You think about these type of thing will linger forever. Yeah.
So Tommy would never forget it. No one could say for sure why Walter was so hard on his son and so cold to him, but family members have their own theories. People who knew the family said that Carolyn was one of those women that just wanted to be special. She wanted something to brag about. She needed to be snobby. That's just her vibe. Her husband wasn't a way for her to be snobby. Sure, he's an attorney, but he was far from the richest, far from the most influential, far from the most successful. He wasn't even the most charitable activist in the area as an attorney. So Carolyn starts looking at her son, Tom, to make herself feel special. Now, Tom was sweet. He was well-mannered, and he had no idea he was a bright young boy. Carolyn showered him with love and attention, and Walter was allegedly jealous. Walter felt like he had wasted his best years in wars, and now his son never had to live through any of that, was handed everything in his eyes. He was just born into a peaceful time with no wars, no struggles. He had a private education and a whole life ahead of him.
That is so weird because usually that's what parents want, right?
See, that's what parents want, I think. But you do hear most typically immigrant parents saying things like, "When I was your age," you know?
Yeah, but you say it, you wouldn't want your kid actually to go through what you
Experience it.
go through.
Yeah.
But this guy is almost like jealous. He
Yes.
feels unfair.
He feels jealous of his own son.
Like, how are you getting life so easy? Like, what?
So Walter was bitter. He was so hard on Tom. And when his wife doted on Tom and fawned over him, Walter would get more and more strict. He was harder on his son to make up for his mother's love. And in the end, Carolyn would choose her husband's love rather than her son. She would not interfere with the harsh punishments that Walter would dole out. Tom said he felt no love from his parents. Truly no love. He said that he never heard his parents even tell him, "I love you." Not even once. Sure, they fed him, gave him a house and nice clothes and, yeah, a private education, but emotionally, he was neglected and physically a bit abused. So he tried to get some parental love from his grandparents. Now, enter in the first generation of the Allenson family that was targeted for murder. Walter Sr., aka Pa, they called him Pa, and Nona Allenson. These are Walter's parents, so Tommy's grandparents from his dad's side. Pa and Nona were like Tom's foster parents. They even referred to Tommy as their son. Whenever Walter refused to spend time with his son, Pa would come in, swoop little Tommy up, and take him hunting. They would make breakfast together. Tom loved staying at his grandparents. They owned this big old farm, but they weren't super successful. They did well for themselves, but they weren't like rolling in dough, right? Anyway, they need to feed all the cows and the pigs on the farm. So what do? Well, Grandpa Pa would take his grandson dumpster diving. They would go to the dumpsters of all the grocery stores and they would come home with big brown bags full of mushy lettuce, mushy tomatoes, and they'd say, Nona, look what we brought home for dinner. And they would all laugh, but really they're feeding it to the cows. So Pa and Nona, they were spoiling Tom, but in the same way that they spoiled their son, Walter. Pa and Nona had 2 kids, Walter, which is Tom's dad, and a daughter named Jean. But Jean was almost always invisible next to Walter. He was the favored son. Jean just took a backseat to her golden brother. Years later, when Grandpa Pa was selling a portion of his farmland, Jean offered to buy it from him. But he refused to sell it to her, and when Walter came in and asked to buy it for like the same amount, Pa had no problem selling it to the golden boy. Later, Walter even flipped it at a handsome profit. So yeah, Jean was pretty upset. She felt like she spent her entire life trying to earn her parents' approval. She even named her daughter Nona in honor of her mom. But they always had and always will love Walter more than her. It was just this really shitty feeling, okay? A feeling that even the golden boy Walter would experience. Because once his son Tommy came around, the grandson became the favorite. Even the grown son Walter was tossed away like yesterday's cold fish. It just gave another reason for Walter to be jealous of his own son. So what can easily happen to people with toxic parents like this? They can find themselves easily in toxic relationships. Which is exactly what happened to Tom. It just seemed like the guy could not choose the right woman to save his life. And it wasn't that he had a lack of options. Tom was a catch. He was tall, he was 6'4", handsome. He had a bit of a southern drawl, so he's from Georgia. He had a bit of a southern accent, which women found so attractive. He was smart, he had a private education, he loved horses. He was actually a rodeo star. Tom would spend a lot of his time working for bougie Georgian families who owned racer show horses. He would feed the horses, tend to them. He was in his element when he was shirtless in the Georgia heat, throwing around sacks of hay or bags of horse food. If the family that hired him had any daughters, you would most likely catch them just fanning themselves in front of Tom.
Oh, shit.
No, I'm serious. It sounds exaggerated, but he was hot, okay? One woman that had a huge crush on him was Liz Price. And Liz said he was my ideal man growing up. A big rodeo star. And oh, how he fit those jeans. Have you heard about his jeans? I thought he was God's gift to women.
Okay.
One day I was walking across the horse show grounds with a bucket of water in my hand, and someone says, "There goes Tom." And I turn around because I was looking at him. I ran straight into another guy and poured the water right over my boots.
Wait, I don't get it.
She's tripping on herself because she's just staring at Tom. And to add to Tom's appeal is that Tom had no idea he was a catch. Sincerely, not a single freaking clue. So he wasn't full of it. He wasn't putting on a show, trying to get attention with his sculpted abs basking in the sun while he's lifting heavy objects. He genuinely was just working. Tom actually thought that all the girls that were drooling over him would never give him the time of day because he wasn't good enough for them. So he never approached any of them.
Oof, so hot.
Now, later in college, Tom would play football for a while, and he was, just like every girl's dream, he was every coach's dream. He was 6'4", 250 pounds of muscle. And college is where Tom fell in love and wanted to marry his college sweetheart, Judy. Walter was beside himself. Are you freaking kidding me? You can't get married till you get through college, at the very least. Do you know how much money your mom and I have spent trying to get you a private education? Are you out of your mind? Tom's like, well, you can't stop me, Dad. You can't stop the love that I have for this girl. You listen to me, son. If you marry her, I will cut you off. I don't know why he couldn't wait. Tom marries Judy anyway, and Walter kept his promise, and he cut off Tom. This really only fueled more drive in Tom. He was resourceful. He managed to support himself, finish college, but the marriage ultimately wouldn't work out. Tom said that Judy had a champagne appetite and he had a beer checkbook. Well, and the fact that Judy was super manipulative, she would withhold sex from Tom to get whatever she wanted. She wasn't a great person. But neither was our Tommy boy, because what does our good old buddy Tom do? He goes after Judy's best friend. Listen. They're all toxic at this point, But it gets worse. I don't know which is the worst fact. The fact that Tom cheated on his wife with Carolyn, or the fact that Carolyn was his wife's best friend, or the fact that Carolyn was also married, or the fact that Carolyn is also his mom's name. I don't know, but either way, both spouses found out about the affair, and everybody is signing divorce papers. And soon after, Tom and Carolyn are signing marriage papers. Like I said, since Tom's mom was also Carolyn, everybody just called Tom's new wife Little Carolyn or Junior. And Tom's mom was now Big Carolyn, which is cute, but in like a weird way, but still kind of cute. So anyway, Junior is just as toxic as Tom's first wife, but Tom was really attracted to her. She was really sexy. Yeah, that's what people said, just sexy. And he kept thinking to himself, I can change her. Yeah, I can stop her drinking. I'm going to take care of her, show her what real love is. We feel you, Tom. We feel you, buddy. But we can see where this is going. The couple moved to the city, Atlanta. They're like, you want to go to the city? I'm from Atlanta. I can make fun of it. Okay. Now, Tom gets a job working for Purina, the company that makes the dog and pet food, right? And he supported Carolyn, who only had a 10th grade education. So her job prospects were just not overflowing. The two would go on to have 2 kids, little Russell and Sherry. Carolyn was a stay-at-home mom to her kids, but she was not necessarily enthusiastic about the job. In fact, she quite hated it. Tom would often come home to find the kids are crying, the house is a mess, and his wife is just laying about without a single care in the world. Listen, I'm not saying she had to have dinner prepped, clean the house. It's overwhelming having 2 kids. But she wasn't even a good parent. The kids were always in distress, and she just didn't really give a fork. It wasn't great. Walter and Big Carolyn, at first they didn't love Tom's new wife, but they loved having grandkids. So they looked the other way, and they were so sweet to little Carolyn. I mean, for the sole fact that she was the mother of their grandkids. But Carolyn's biggest problem was her drinking. Allegedly, on one occasion, she was getting way too drunk. She starts waving a gun around in anger, and Tom is terrified. He tucks the 2 babies under his arms, and he heads out the door. But Carolyn starts firing at him and the kids. Thankfully, Tom lunges forward. Now, Carolyn's not a great shot. She missed. But what the hell? What kind of mother fires a gun at her own spouse and children? Tom didn't know if he wanted to file charges because at the end of the day, she was still the mother of his children. But he was lost. He's confused. The guy's not even 30 yet. A part of him wanted to tough it out and stay for the kids. But another part of him feels like he deserves to live a happy life. So he decides to divorce Carolyn. And he takes custody of the kids. Or at least he tries to. When he went to tell his parents this, they were pissed.
These parents are pissed at everything.
Yeah.
Huh?
Tom thought since they weren't even faced with Tom's first divorce, why would they have a problem with this one? But Walter sat him down and sternly told him, you can get a divorce any day of the week, as long as you don't have children. If you have children, you live in it. You live in your marriage no matter what the circumstances are. I don't care if your life is threatened. You live with it. Walter, your son almost got shot. So did your precious grandkids. Like, what do you mean? Walter didn't care. Walter wouldn't even have cared if she ran them over with her truck. He told his son, you're a big boy, Tommy. You should be able to handle your wife. Walter literally went out of his way to stop Tom's divorce. Walter said, okay, well, those are just my thoughts. But if you must, I will help you divorce her, of course. I'm your dad. I'm an attorney. But what does he do? He never files for the divorce. Now, Tom is getting confused. He's like, hello, I'm not changing my mind. I want a divorce. Dad, what is wrong with you? That forced Tom to reach out to get a different attorney to help him file for divorce. And this severely pissed off Walter. Tom was kicked out of the house, nowhere to go. Walter literally screamed at Tom, you fucking donkey. And he turned to his daughter-in-law and said, oh dear, gorgeous dear, I'm so sorry about my son. The parents straight up took their daughter-in-law's side and even helped her file for child support. So Tom found himself with like a $2,000 a month payment in child support, which is insane. I mean, I don't even know if he made that much working at Purina. Tom finds himself completely alone in this impossible situation with his parents siding with the woman that fired a gun at him and his kids. His parents even testified against Tom in later divorce proceedings, so it just quickly turned very sour. Walter even sent a letter to his own son, basically stating that if Tom tried to take the fridge, the refrigerator that he had shared with Carolyn, Walter will file charges against his own son for breaking and entering.
What? What?
Yeah.
Like, does he just really hate his son, or he just really loved the daughter-in-law? What's the deal?
I think the deal is Walter always hated his son, and now he had some sort of reason that he could twist for the rest of his friends and family to say, oh yeah, your son's messed up.
Okay, so it's not out of his love or their love for the daughter-in-law.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think Walter just really wanted some excuse to hate his son without being the bad guy. Because, any dad that just randomly hates their son, you're like, you're a horrible dad.
Yeah.
But if your son is a horrible person who is going against his kids, then you're like, oh, you're such a good grandpa. You're protecting your grandkids. He even ended it with a heartwarming, while you have some help, I suggest you move your junk from the garage and my backyard and return the fan that was loaned to you. Any of your junk equipment or anything else that is left after January 15th will be placed on the street for the city to pick up. And he ended it with Walter O. Allenson. It was just cold. The letter was cold. Just so bad. Luckily enough, Tom was resourceful. He had been working for a nice family called the Radcliffes. Not Daniel. He's not part of this one. For several years, he had been tending to their horses. And when they found out about his situation, they offered to take him in and have him live in the living room. Super sweet, right? It's probably because their daughter Patricia begged them to. A little bit about our girl Pat, okay? Patricia was 6 years older than Tom. She's in her 30s. And now, that's not old by any means, but Patricia seemed to be one of those women that just did not age at all. She was beautiful, she had this etherealness to her, and she was sexy. She loved wearing skirts that were almost illegally short and these very revealing halter tops. Those were her favorite. But more importantly, Patricia was loving and caring and oh so gentle, truly a charming woman. Tom had craved this kind of love for his entire life, and he was hooked. Patricia felt like his soulmate. Although Patricia originally never had any intention of marrying Tom, she too seemed to have fallen in love. You see, Patricia was a bit of a skeptic. She had been through a lot. She had unfortunate life experiences that really shaped her. Her brother took his own life, and now, meeting Tom, she would be thrown into his crazy family drama, and she would eventually have to face the person trying to kill the whole Allenson family. That person was herself. Patricia was a lot of people's soulmates, but she was hers first. She was one of those people that would love others here and there, but at the end, she would always love herself the most. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, in today's day and age and the dating culture out there, maybe it's a good thing. But let's talk about her life. It's a bit more wild, a bit more scandalous compared to that of the Allensons. Patricia was beloved by the royal family of Japan. So she is not your average horse girl in Georgia.
What?
Yeah, it gets wild. So she's Mary Lind Patricia Vaughn. That's how she is born. That's her full name. I don't know if it's like a Georgian thing. Listen, I don't have like 25 names. I was born in Georgia. So she's born into a very respectable family with deep, deep Southern roots. When I say deep, Patricia's own mother was really into how big and notable their family is. She was able to proudly list her parents' 241 descendants down to the 6th generation. It was a lot. And out of all these people, hundreds of people really, they were all incredibly headstrong. That was kind of the notorious trait in the family. Each family member was considered strong-minded and incredibly stubborn.
Are they wealthy?
Not that wealthy. I think that some of them are, very few, but overall it's not like an old money Southern thing.
Oh.
Now, some of them were known to not even walk till they were 5 years old. Not because they couldn't, but they straight up didn't like walking. It was more comfortable for them to be carried. So these kids just did not walk.
That's weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's just really...
Give me weird vibes.
It's a little weird, yeah. Pat's mom ended up running with a 20-year-old when she was just 15, and she got pregnant. Her first child was a stillborn. And Margaret, Pat's mom, was devastated. So she tried again, and soon she gave birth to Patricia. Patricia was the apple of Margaret's eye. But of course, her parents' relationship wouldn't last. They were too young. They didn't have the finances. It just wasn't working. Margaret scoops her daughter up and moves back in with her mom, Mary, who doted over her granddaughter, just like Pa and Nona doted over Tom Allenson. Mary just about gave Pat everything she asked for. You know what they say about grandmas?
こんばんは。こんばんは。聞こえますか？うわあ。いやー、こんばんは。なんか、配信する前から、めちゃくちゃコメント流れてたから、ちょっとフライングした。ありがとう、待ってくれて。いやー、終わったぞー。ライブお疲れ様でした。お疲れ様でした。終わったー。いやいや、みんな来てくれましたか？来てくれたのかな？いや、本当に濃い2日間だったわ。お疲れ様。来てくれた方々、ありがとうございました。来てくれなくても、応援してくれた方々、ありがとうございました。僕の夏、終了へ。いやー、もうね、楽しかったわ。すっごい楽しかった。いや、めちゃくちゃ楽しかったね。初めての歌ってみたライブだったけど、なんかもうね、感無量だったわ。会場もなんだかんだ1万1000 1万2000そんくらいずつぐらいの会場2日間広かった。1万2000ぐらいか。満員ありがとうございました。いやー、今回ね、ちょっと話したいこといっぱいあるわ。
They're just old ladies trying to get into heaven. So they dote on their grandkids to make up for any mistakes they made parenting their own children. They're like, this is my chance. This is my ticket to redo everything. But even then, Grandma Mary took it to a freaking extreme. She would go around saying in her thick Southern accent, next to God, I love Patty more than anything in the world. Grandma Mary had 13 kids, and all those kids had children of their own. So...
Yeah, why is she so obsessed with Pat?
Pat is cute.
Oh.
Very cute. Very like Southern looking cute girl. Did Mary have other grandkids? Absolutely. Did they even compare to Pat? No, they did not. When Patty decided she did not want a single vegetable or fruit on her plate, Grandma Mary stood there in the kitchen and made Patricia pancakes 3 times a day, every single day. The girl's food intake was just straight up pancakes, but not even like scallion pancakes, not even like a seafood pancake with some sort of protein. I'm talking buttermilk pancakes. I mean, I'm sure there's protein in there, but it's just not that nutritious.
Yeah, that can't be good.
Yeah, that cannot be doctor approved. But she just ate pancakes every single day. Pancake Patty, she was. But somehow she was very, very thin. Yeah. And since everyone in the house, they were all kids, were raised with spankings, anytime Pat did something wrong, Grandma Mary would bend her over on her lap and whisper in her ear, now you remember, cry real loud. And Mary pretended to hit her, and Pat would cry. Now, it's no wonder that Pat grew up thinking that consequences were just not something she had to concern her pretty little self with. Now, I'm not saying that you should spank your kids, but Pat was never punished. Like, she could do no wrong. But eventually, Patricia got competition. Her mom has another child, a baby boy named Kent. And Kent was very handsome, very cute. And from the moment that Pat laid her eyes on her baby brother, she fucking hated him. And for the rest of his life, she knew she would have to take him down. She did her absolute best, then and later as an adult, to beat him down, belittle him, make him feel so small so she could feel superior. Pat did not kill Kent, but Kent would die. Before that tragic day, a lot happened. Margaret met her future husband, Clifford Radcliffe. Listen, his name sounds like he's from Wuthering Heights or something. He's not, I checked. But the two fall in love. Clifford Radcliffe. That's a name. I've never heard a name that intense in a while. Now, Pat is 5, Kent is 3. Cliff would treat them as his own. And Kent was so young that he grew up thinking that Cliff was his biological dad. Up till a certain point, even Pat started to believe that he was her biological father. So the two get married, and afterwards, Margaret wants to move to Texas to be with Cliff. That's where he was stationed in the army. Lots of army going on, okay? Now, Mary was devastated. Grandma Mary begged her daughter, "Do not rip my darling Patricia from my arms. Don't hurt me like that. I need Patricia. You know I have a weak heart. You'll kill me if you take that child away from me." Margaret didn't care. Clifford was part of military intelligence, one of the most elite, one of the most mysterious specialties in the army. She wanted to live in military royalty in Texas. So she took up her kids and snatched them from Grandma Mary. Well, let me tell you, Margaret was not freaking ready. She was not ready to see how spoiled Patricia was. Patricia refused to eat anything that wasn't a pancake. She threw tantrums at the smallest little inconveniences. And now you'll think, okay, well, Margaret's going to try and correct some of this behavior. I don't know, help her daughter become a well-adjusted human? Nope. She enabled Patricia's behavior even more. She would sit Pat down and just tell her how pretty she is. It was weird, and naturally it went to Patricia's head. Patricia would go around telling her cousins, "That's okay. Maybe one day you'll be as pretty as me." So at one point in Cliff's military career, the family moved to Japan, and Patricia actually becomes the tennis partner of the young Japanese crown prince, which did no favors to her metaphorical bobblehead that was just getting bigger and bigger. She was just getting cockier and cockier. Even when the royal family gave her one of the most special gifts that they can gift to a foreigner, which is a full ceremonial Japanese kimono,
Wow.
Patricia just shrugged it off. I mean, she had been treated like a queen her entire life. This just didn't really faze her. She just kind of expected everyone to treat her like that. Yeah, and as far as Patricia's head was up her own ass, she really did seem to have it all. She never had a single pimple growing up during puberty. She never went through an awkward phase. She was giving main character vibes in a romance novel. And when Patricia's 15, the Radcliffes are back in Atlanta, and Patricia is fueled by her romance novels. She's very much interested in boys, and she ends up getting pregnant with 18-year-old army man Gilbert Taylor. Now, Pat is 15. Her mom can't even get mad at her because that's when she had her first child. Pat being 15, she projects all of her romantic fantasies onto Gil Taylor. She wanted to be the main character of a storybook romance. She even sat her mom down and said, "Mommy, do not call me Patty. Do not even call me Pat. From now on, I'm Patricia." No, seriously, she said that. Pat was so excited to be pregnant because it meant that Gil was going to marry her. She was ecstatic. Gil, on the other hand, was on the fence. He didn't even believe that it was his child. It was, and soon Gil had accepted his fate, and they had their first baby, Susan. And once Pat got all the, "Oh my God, you're such a mom, you must be so tired." When she got all the praise for giving birth, she tossed the baby over to her own mom and went about her day. If her mom ever complained, she would say, "Mom, you owe me anyway. You left me when I was a baby." Pat knew how to guilt trip and manipulate just about anyone to get whatever she wanted, and it worked 99% of the time. There was just one problem. Anytime Pat moved in with her parents so that they could take care of her kid, Kent, Patricia's annoying younger brother, was still living at home. It's like, ugh, how dare the 13-year-old still live at home with his parents? The freaking audacity. To steal attention away from me and my new baby, it's despicable what he's doing. Side note, Kent really didn't want any of the attention. In fact, he liked to keep to himself. He was always a bit reserved, always a bit quiet. As a kid, he survived a super high fever that nearly killed him, and thankfully he came out alive, but he was almost completely deaf after that. He learned to read lips. It wasn't ideal. So yeah, he really didn't care to be the center of people's attention. He even gave up his room and let Patricia take over, and he would sleep on the couch. He would beg to play with his niece, and Patricia would sneer at him before saying yes. Better him playing with her daughter than Pat having to watch her own kid. Patricia would periodically go to live with her husband in whatever town he was stationed in, but she hated it. First of all, nobody was around to watch her kid, but more importantly, she wasn't living the life that she felt she deserved, a life of opulence. Instead, she found herself bouncing from minuscule apartment with subpar furnishing to another minuscule apartment with subpar furnishing. It was a far cry from the beautiful houses full of antiques that Pat's parents had always owned. Soon after, Pat and Gil have another daughter, Deborah, or Debbie. So now, Pat is 17 with 2 babies to take care of. Patricia's family would fly all around the country to take care of the kids. Pat wasn't even working. She just hated watching the kids. It was horrendous. So anytime Patricia's family would put their foot down and say, "No more, we have work, we have our own lives, we can't just fly around helping you," Patricia would become magically so weak and fragile. She started having these fainting spells. She would just faint in the middle of dinner, in the middle of buying groceries and everything. She just couldn't take it anymore. She told her mom that she had suffered a few miscarriages, which left her more weak and more frail than ever. It's debatable that she actually ever had a miscarriage, not because it's not common, but because, well, Pat is a pathological liar. She said, "I sat on the toilet and I flushed them away," which is a really graphic and intense thing to say to your mom about your miscarriages. But that didn't stop Pat and Gil. They went on to have their 3rd child. By the time that Patricia is 20, listen, I know she's young, but she's a horrible mom. She hated even a second alone with her kids because that meant that she would actually have to parent, and she hated that. Susan, the eldest daughter, remembers an incident where they were all in the car. Susan's like maybe 12, 13, and she's learning about population explosion in class. Now, this little 13-year-old, she was raised in the South. She's pretty religious. She's confused about sex and how people are made to begin with. So she makes a comment along the lines of, "Well, I don't think we should be..." I don't think we should be blaming anybody because God put a kids, God put a baby in their stomach. Susan genuinely thought you just wake up and God put a seed in your stomach. And Patricia starts bursting into a sick laughter. And she says, don't you know anything, you idiot? The man puts his penis inside the woman's holes and wiggles up and down.
Wow, what a sex ed.
Yeah. Pat went on to describe sex in the ugliest, most graphic terms that she could think of. And there was nothing about love. There was nothing about the birds and the bees. Just a blunt explanation. I mean, I get it. That's what sex is. But like, when your kid is 12 or 13, it was so gross.
Mm-hmm.
Susan hated being alone with her mom. She just wanted to get just the hell out of the house as often as possible. She felt safer wandering around the scary neighborhood than being home with her mom. And it made sense. Pat had a thing for theatrics. Pat accused her mother-in-law of poisoning her. On one occasion, she had gone to Germany with her parents. But since her husband wasn't stationed in Germany, he couldn't go because he has a job. Now, Patricia is so upset with this that he dared stay to do his job. She flipped out. She would tell him, I need you to come get your kids. I can't handle them on my own. Plus, there's a bunch of creepy German men in the neighborhood. Most of them have tried to rape me, and I think at least one of them wants to kill me. If you don't come rescue me, you will regret it. Then she would turn around and scream at her kids, your father's an alcoholic and a gambler. He gambled away that German shepherd dog that you love so much. Yeah, that's why the dog is gone. It was intense. So one day, Susan had asked her mom if she could bring a school friend over after school. Patricia agreed, and Susan was ecstatic. She was skipping all the way home with that little friend of hers, and her friend was kind of walking in front of Susan. And she stops abruptly. Hello? What's wrong? And she turns around to face Susan, and she just had this crazy look in her eyes. What? Susan, your mom. What about her? And Susan's eyes went up because they were right in front of her house. And through the window, she could see her mom, Patricia, sitting there alone, hitting herself over, all over the body with pots and pans. And she was doing it really hard. Soon the girls saw police cars roll up. Pam's body was a mess of bruises, scratches, and welts. She looked like she had been run over by a truck. She claimed to authorities that a German salesman forced himself into the house, beat her, and sexually assaulted her. She would then tearfully tell her husband in the United States, almost as a, see, I told you you would regret it.
But the kids saw her.
Yeah, but they didn't say anything.
Oh, wow.
It was bad. Now, the Taylors, they end up moving back to the United States soon after that, and Pat had a new obsession. You're like, what? Like knitting, gardening, maybe even shopping? No, Patricia fell in love with plantations. She wanted to own one. So no matter what, Gil, her husband, obviously didn't have the budget for one, but he promised her he would work it out and try to make it happen. And Patricia would sit and smile and say things like, I see it, I like it, I want it, buy it for me.
I see it.
I like it. I got it.
I got it.
Yeah, she wrote Ariana Grande's song, okay? And if Gil brought her back down to reality, she would get super pissed and run back to her parents. And it was on one of these occasions that Patricia moved into the family home that Kent, her brother, had moved back into. So now he's old too. His fiance had just broken up with him out of nowhere. He was lost, confused, heartbroken, and honestly depressed. Pat didn't care. Instead, she taunted him. Kent, did you know that your ex was a lesbian? I don't know why she ever got with you anyway. Maybe to cover up that she's a lesbian. Kent was tore up by this, not because he thought his ex-fiancée was a lesbian, but he wondered, does that mean she never even loved me? But Patricia wasn't done. She revealed to Kent, who is now an adult, that his entire life was a lie, that Clifford was not his biological father, and Kent's biological father is probably some deadbeat doing nothing with his life. Kent was shocked. Patricia kept it up, and she kept calling him a bastard, saying things like, see, you're so stupid, you don't even know. Kent was never the same after Pat's ugly words. He slowly spiraled into an alcohol addiction, and eventually, 26-year-old Kent took his own life. He pulled over on the curb, alone in his car, took out a pistol, and shot himself in the chest.
Oh my gosh.
He died almost instantly. So Patricia finally got her wish to be an only child. See, the thing about Pat is that she needed everyone around her to dance around, to make her happy. Otherwise, they were evil and they needed to die. She forced her husband to work 3 jobs so that they could afford a down payment on a plantation. Gil was exhausted. He only slept 4 hours a night, and he would complain to Patricia, babe, I'm tired and we still don't have nearly enough saved. I'm going to burn out or die of exhaustion. Patricia would look at him, contemplate, and say, work harder. But she knew he was right. So Patricia persuaded her parents to help pay for the plantation by selling their own property. And yeah, I mean, what? They were all going to live on the land, build a home, a horse barn, and they were going to keep bringing in more horses that required them to hire more people to take care of the horses, people like Tom Allinson. But before we get ahead of ourselves, Pat and Gil break up. I mean, it was more unexpected that it happened so late, that they made it this far to begin with, but they break up. Gil moved off the land and Pat stayed with her family. Now, the problem is that Patricia's not doing great. Sure, she's got the plantation of her dreams, but she doesn't have a strong education or any qualifications. She felt like she needed a man to support her. She knew with the right makeup, the right clothes, she was 30, but she looked 20. She was beautiful, she was youthful, charming, and really sweet whenever she wanted to be. She starts sifting through the market to see who's the real sugar daddy versus the Splenda daddies versus the Stevia daddies. And she finally thought that she found the perfect man. Sure, he was a bit older, in his 50s, but he was a friend of the then Governor Jimmy Carter, the one that would later become president.
Wow.
But the man was already married, and he made it very clear that she was just a mistress. But we know, Pat's thinking, yeah, and he's going to take a little taste of my puff pastry and everything will be history. He's going to leave his wife, leave his kids to be with me. He did really like her. Patricia made him feel 20 years younger. She would write him little poems and, oh, she was just the sweetest thing. But yeah, he's not leaving his wife for her. Imagine the political scandal. He's like nearly 60. For a woman half his age, no, his wife was the perfect one for his career. Eventually, with enough threats, the nearly 60-year-old man came to his senses that maybe Patricia was a little unhinged. She started to constantly threaten him. If you don't leave your wife for me, I don't know what I might do. So he ghosted her. Patricia was very upset. She didn't know what to do. She was willing to do anything to get him back. And she thought, that's it. I will make him jealous. And she latched on to some pretty young horseboy named Tom Allinson. She sent one last message to the former boyfriend's secretary that said, you go tell him that if he doesn't change his mind and leave his wife and his 2 kids, I will be married to Tom Allinson within 2 weeks.
Great.
Yeah, the man did not respond. And now Patricia was confused, and she thought, well, I guess Tom will make an okay replacement. His dad's an attorney, so I'm sure that they have some money. And just like that, Tom would be sitting in prison. So that worked out perfect. The hectic marriage between Patricia and Tom would leave 2 people dead, 2 nearly dead, and multiple people in prison for a very long time. It's a wild ride, so buckle up. Patricia loved to visit her husband in jail. If only she could get a few looks while doing it. She always wore the most revealing, most inappropriate outfit that she could come up with. The clothes wouldn't even match. She just paired a scandalous item with another scandalous item. She was hostile with the guards. She even tried to complain that one of them was sexually harassing her. And this was not good for her husband, Tom, who was trying to keep a low profile in prison. Sometimes Patricia would walk in with a set of embroidered boxers for Tom, a gift. Another day, she would complain that Tom's legal team was the one behind all of this. They were the reason that he was still in prison. Tom would sit there behind the glass window and think to himself, I feel so bad. I really let the love of my life down. I wish I could help her. He just wanted Patricia to be happy, to smile, and to not be sick. He did everything he could to make her feel better, but she would accuse him of abandoning her. Like he had a choice. Like prison was a vacation for him. She complained that she would be an old woman by the time he got out. If he even got out, that is. And she didn't know if she would even make it that long. At one point, she even accused him of cheating on her. Tom was baffled. He's like, how on earth do you think that I would do that right now? But he continued to love her, and he tried to calm her down. What more did he have to do to prove that he loved her? He would say things like, I love you, darling. I miss you more than anything in this world. You're my Patricia, and you'll always be my Patricia. We're going to make it sugar. I need you more than anything in this world. You're my whole life, my whole entire life wrapped up in my Patricia, okay? And she would murmur flatly, okay. And while Tom was in prison, Patricia had developed a mysterious infection on her hip. She started using crutches to walk. Tom was so worried for her. She looked so frail and weak. He wanted to jump through the glass and help her and hold her and tell her everything was going to be okay. But Patricia was inconsolable. She would cry, I think I might die from heartbreak and being lonely. I have no one to help me now. Patricia, you still have me. If you don't think that I'm right there with you, look around you at the letters I've written you. I know that, Tom. But the letters, the flowers, the cards, the pictures I'm looking at, all of those things can't hold me when I'm sick. They can't support me when I have to be supported. They can't pay the bills. They can't reach out for me. They can't protect me. They can't keep me secure. They can't get me any support or protection at all. Tom had no answer or solution. Of course he didn't. Patricia always made it a mission to make sure that he was depressed in prison. But he didn't know that. He didn't know that Patricia was always preventing his family and friends from visiting. She straight up lied to them and said that the visitors were absolutely forbidden. Tom couldn't even talk to his lawyers without Patricia being present, which was really hurting his case. The lawyers wanted him to plead guilty, but Patricia would not have it. She would say, "Sugar, don't you dare. You're not guilty, Shug, and I won't allow you to do this to yourself. You'll be free. You have to be free. I need you. I can't live without you. I know you're not guilty. Okay, Sugar? I know you didn't kill your parents. So, shh. It's okay. I got you." Let's rewind a little. How did we get here? Did Tom kill his parents? What's going on? Sure, Tom's relationship with his parents were rough, but Tom really never struck us as a killer, right? To explore that, we have to go back to Tom and Pat's marriage, which was rocky, just like any relationship that Patricia has ever had. Tom was so vulnerable and alone at the time that they met. It was the perfect time for a beautiful princess to swoop in and rescue the injured knight. Patricia was the kindest, at least in the beginning. She knew how to heal a man's emotional wounds. She was amazing with men. She even nicknamed Tom Sugar, and he loved it. Oh, and it really helped that she gave first-class head. Yeah, really. She would sneak Tom into her daughter's house because her parents would be upset if she brought Tom home, and she gave him first-class head right there on her daughter's couch. Sometimes Susan would catch them in when she came back home from work. Patricia was never embarrassed. She would just say, "There, Tom, you've had sex before, but you've never had anyone teach you how to make love until I came along." And Tom would be so embarrassed, but it's almost like he was glowing, like a teenager that had just lost his virginity. He was wrapped around Patricia's finger. But Tom's problems only got worse as he fell more into Patricia. For one, his parents hated Patricia. They called her a harlot for the way that she dressed. But Tom was on Pat's side fully. She was the only person in his life that was protective of him, and he loved it. He found it endearing. And Patricia needed him. She suffered some sort of dizzy spells, fainting spells. Oh, she was so weak. Tom needed to be by her side to take care of her. He would stand nervously near the end of the bed, holding her pale little hand. And he had finally met the love of his life, and he couldn't let her leave now. Patricia would whisper, her voice weak, "Oh, Sugar, you deserve a whole woman. You don't want me. Just an old woman. Nobody would want me." Tom didn't care. He wanted his life with Pat. He wanted to get custody of his kids and raise them with Patricia. That was his life goal. He begged Patricia to marry him the minute that his divorce with Carolyn was finished. Patricia agreed, but only if he could fulfill her dream. She wanted to live on a better plantation. Yeah, the fucking plantation. So Tom vowed to make it happen for her, and the two of them started looking at more property to buy. They had found some land surrounded by pine trees, meadows. There were 25 acres of pecan groves, 27 more acres of apple, pecan, and pear trees. There were rose gardens, a pond. It was beautiful. Sure, they had to build their own house, but the potential was so good. The only problem was that Tom was paying an astronomical child support fee. He did not have a ton of cash lying around. And Patricia would say, "But your father's an attorney. I'm sure he'll help you." Originally, she had no idea how tense his relationship was with his parents. Tom actually had to turn to his grandparents, beg them for the down payment. He promised when they got old, they could move in with Tom and he would take care of them. So it's not a gift, it's an investment into their retirement. So with that, and Pat's parents helping out with some money, they bought the property. Pat's parents begged her to name it Kentwood Farms in honor of their deceased son, Kent, the younger brother. Pat begrudgingly agreed. She actually wanted Rose Hill Farms or Holly Hedge Stables, but whatever, they were footing the bill, so what could she do? So they move in, and Patricia starts accusing people of doing bizarre things. She accused Carolyn, the ex-wife, of having children with Tom's dad, Walter. So Patricia is telling Tom, "Hey, you know those kids that you love that you think are yours? I think it's actually the result of an affair between your ex-wife and your own father. Otherwise, why is he so protective of her?" She would throw radios out the window because she thought that Tom had listened to this radio with Carolyn when they were dating. So she would just throw them out the window. But, they live on a big property, so you're just throwing it out onto your own property. Do you think someone's going to come pick it up? I mean, it's just so many weird red flags. But they get married anyway. Carolyn dressed up as a Southern belle, like straight up a character from Gone with the Wind, literally. She wore a white gown with puff sleeves, a huge hoop skirt, white gloves, feathers in her hair, a ribbon around her neck, and Tom was put into a costume for their wedding. Black suit with coattails, a top hat, and a fake mustache.
Not a fake mustache.
A fake mustache. So the two thought that they were finally going to be happy, but then Tom got fired. Now, Tom claims that his dad had something to do with it. His dad knew influential people, they had powerful friends, but Tom was still optimistic. Even after losing his job, he tried to make up for his lost salary with blacksmith work. But that caused a bit of a problem in the relationship with Patricia. She wanted to go to every house call with him. She was jealous that he was going to run into somebody pretty. And having Patricia around was not good for business. She would just stand around snobbishly, arms crossed, make the employers feel really uncomfortable, always hovering. But that's not even the worst part. Whenever she got bored and felt like Tom wasn't even showing her enough attention, she would faint, just right then and there. Tom would rush her to the hospital, lose out on all the money, work, as well as business connections, and Patricia never attempted to help work around the farm or anywhere. She just complained all day that the house wasn't being built fast enough. Unbeknownst to Tom, Patricia had figured that it would all be fine because Tom's family had money. I mean, true, Walter had accumulated more money, he had invested well in real estate, and Patricia was confused that the Allensons weren't tripping over themselves to give everything to Tom. I mean, that's what her parents did for her, so why wouldn't they do the same? That's just what parents do. Patricia didn't know that not only did Walter hate Tom, but Walter hated Pat. He said this about his daughter-in-law. She will lie down with any man with a truck and a horse trailer, you damn fool. You can't see that? The older Allensons even wrote Tom out of their will and told Tom and Patricia this. Tom was stressed. He was just trying to make his wife happy, and his parents were not helping. In fact, they were making his life harder. Soon, Patricia starts distancing herself and pulling back her attention, so she had love-bombed Tom, essentially, just making him feel so special, and suddenly, now she just never wants to be alone with him. He got the hint. He needed to do more. He needed to be good enough for Patricia. He just didn't know how. But life isn't that simple, and especially not in this family. Because here come the accusations. Tom accused his father of getting him fired from his job. There was no proof, and Walter denied this. Little Carolyn, Tom's ex-wife, accused Tom of sneaking into her house and putting formaldehyde into her milk. He was trying to kill her and their kids. Formaldehyde is often used to treat horses, so it kind of sounded like Tom, or at least to her it did. There is no proof, and Tom denied this. Walter then accused his son Tom of putting sugar into his car gas tank. There is no proof, and Tom has denied this. Walter also claims that Tom broke into his house and stole 3 guns. There is no proof, and Tom has denied this. Patricia accused Walter of coming to their house and flashing her with his penis. There is no proof, and Walter has denied this. He's actually included a very strong statement. He said, I swear I did not go out to Pike County on Friday and expose myself to Patricia. I have not been in that county for some time. Lady, I have high blood pressure and I'm under doctor's care. I take medicine for that. And when you do that, it affects your sexual life. I haven't had sex for some time. So why in the world would I go out there and expose myself to Patricia? In fact, if I were going to be on display at a flower show, I would have to go as a dried arrangement. Dang, he's all dried up. During a lot of these accusations, the alleged perpetrator typically had alibis. Well, Tom couldn't have done this or that because he was working. There were witnesses. Walter couldn't have done this or that because he too was working. His firm could attest to it. So it's just hard to say what was going on, but everybody was very jumpy. According to Patricia, Tom had told her, I can't do this anymore. I have to talk to my parents and sort things out. We can't live like this. Sure, we don't have to get along. We don't even have to talk to each other, but threatening to kill each other, it's just ridiculous. Tom claims he arrived at Walter's house, but he wasn't home. And when he finally does get there, Walter didn't think Tom was there, or so he thought. So from Walter's perspective, he comes home to a pitch black house. His wife was out to pick up the grandkids from daycare, and little Carolyn, the ex-wife of Tom, was on the way home to meet the kids. Now, as soon as his wife comes back, she told him nonchalantly, "Oh, sweetie, you're back. It's the oddest thing. There was no lightning today at all, but the lights won't turn on and the TV is out." So Walter goes to the basement to check the breaker box. Someone pulled the main switch. It wasn't an accident. He was able to fix it and the lights come back on. But something was off. There was just this uneasiness. They start searching the house, and at one point, Tom's ex-wife had joined them. They discover an old leather suitcase and a shotgun that Walter had for years was missing. And someone had cut the phone lines. Tom's ex-wife was very uneasy. She had her kids with her, and after the whole milk incident, she said, "Walter, could you please drive back with me to my apartment and make sure everything is in order? I'll leave the kids here with Big Caroline. I just don't want anyone to try to ambush me and the kids when we get home." They go to her place, everything is fine. But on their way back, Tom's ex-wife noticed, "Wait, that blue Jeep. I only know one person with a blue Jeep. Look, it says Pike County on the bumper sticker. Walter, that's Patricia." "What? What is she doing here? This is like 60 miles from her house." "Follow her." So they follow the Jeep as it turned and parked near the Allenson house. And Walter couldn't take it anymore. He leaped out of the car to confront Patricia, but as he did, whoever was in the blue Jeep floored it out of there. Walter ran back into the car, "Follow her!" And they tried, but they lost her. They couldn't locate Pat's blue Jeep again. So there's technically no proof other than eyewitnesses that Patricia was in the blue Jeep, but I think it makes sense that she was. Anyways, Tom's ex-wife and Walter go back into the house, and they hear the kids crying. So Walter runs down into the basement first, and he had his pistol. Little Carolyn hears shots fired, and suddenly he screams at her, "Junior!" meaning little Carolyn, "Get the kids out of the house." Little Carolyn rushed them out of the house, and on her way out, she heard Walter call out to his wife, asking her to bring him his new gun. And little Carolyn begged her not to go downstairs. She just had a bad feeling. But Big Carolyn went down. And exactly what happened down in the basement, we can never know for sure. But we do know that at 8 p.m. a neighbor called the police. And when the police arrived, they were met with an eerie silence. They cleared the first floor. They went to check the basement. And on the staircase was Carolyn Allenson, Tom's mom, sitting on the steps with blood everywhere. She was not moving, and she was dead. The police couldn't get a good view of the basement, so they had no idea if there was a perpetrator still there, if someone was holding somebody hostage. So they threw a canister of tear gas into the basement, and all the doors were sealed. So if there was anybody down there, they would have been running out screaming, gasping for their lives, vomiting. But 10 minutes later, nothing. Nobody was alive down in the basement. They rushed down and found Walter's dead body, followed by a trail of blood. Walter had been shot in the head and chest multiple times, and he tried to stumble around the basement before falling over and bleeding out. The police were puzzled. Near a blood-stained flashlight, the police found a pistol, a rifle near the stairs, and outside the house in a bush was a shotgun. Now, as the police are surveying the area, they actually find Pat Allison in a car parked just 2 blocks away, in her blue Jeep. So they're like, "Okay, Patricia, come on, get out of here." She gets out in her miniskirt and her halters top, and the police are informing her, "We're looking for your husband, Tom Allenson. He's the primary suspect in the murder of his parents." Now, little Caroline, his ex-wife, had already accused him of murdering his parents. So Pat is brought in to be interviewed, and at first she tries to argue, there's no way that Tom would have shot his parents, no way in hell. But as the interview drags on, she seems to change her tune by a lot. She went from "Tom would never" to "the only way that Tom would hurt anybody is if they tried to hurt him first." I mean, those are two very, very different statements. The police are actively searching for Tom, and it's Tom's own grandfather that called to say that Tom is at home in the couple's plantation. Tom said that he was willing to turn himself in, and he did. He denies murdering his parents. He said that's about as ridiculous as it can be, but he said that he was dropped off at his parents' house to talk to them. Now, they weren't home. What does he do? He finds that the basement door is unlocked, and he goes inside the basement and starts waiting for them in the basement, which is a bit odd, okay? That's the last thing that I would do. I mean, especially if your dad has threatened to kill you already. But he did it. According to him, he waited, and he heard the mom and kids come home. He didn't go up. He felt weird. He was psyching himself out. Anyway, Walter eventually comes to the basement to see that the power is out and the phone lines are cut. Tom claims that he climbed into the fireplace when his dad came downstairs. He doesn't know if his dad saw him, but Walter called the police, which made him feel relieved. But the police didn't come in. They didn't even come inside. So again, so weird. So after Walter and little Carolyn went around chasing Patricia, Tom stayed in the fireplace. I don't know why he didn't just leave in that moment. And then Walter got home, went down, saw Tom, and tried to shoot him. Apparently, Walter didn't shoot Tom, but shot around him. So whether he's a bad shot or was it fatherly love, we don't really know. It's just a whole strange story that doesn't add up. Not a single shot grazed Tom, but he was in the fireplace. The police said it's like shooting fish in a barrel. You're gonna shoot him. It's harder to not shoot someone that's crouched up in a fireplace when you're aiming at the fireplace.
Yeah.
Eventually, Walter ran out of bullets and called Big Carolyn to bring him a new gun. At that point, Tom said he ran out of the fireplace, grabbed his dad's shotgun that he knew was in the basement, but his dad didn't know. He claims the second he picked up the shotgun, his mom was coming down the stairs. She saw her son holding a shotgun, and she fired the gun in her hand. But instead of shooting Tom, she accidentally shot her husband. Tom said that he likely fired the gun at his mom to defend himself, and he shot his father again after that to make sure he was dead. And he walked out the basement door, shaken and afraid. He said he went to Pat in the car nearby and told her everything. He told her, just leave. I'm no good for you. I'll give you everything, the house, the money, everything. I just don't want to hurt you anymore.
Who told all this story? Himself?
Yes. So, I mean, this whole story sounds like he's protecting Patricia a lot.
Yeah.
And he left in the parking lot, hitchhiked, and walked 60 miles back home. And when he got home, he was so exhausted, he knocked out. He said that he had no idea that any of this happened, really, or that the police were looking for him. It's just so weird. So he kind of changes his story multiple times.
He walked 60 miles home.
Plus hitchhiked some of it. Tom had no injuries on his body, and he also showed no emotion when he was talking about the murder of his parents. No tears, he wasn't choking up, nothing. Just plain emotionless, numbness. Maybe he was in shock. It was odd. Neighbors said that they saw Tom running down the street away from his parents' house around 8 p.m. that night. They ID'd him in a lineup, and with that, Tom was taken into custody. Before he was sent to jail, Patricia ran up to him and she cried, I'm going to take care of everything, sugar. Now you just remember, I'm handling this. Don't say anything. I've got you a good lawyer and you trust me and you don't talk to anybody else. You hear me, sugar? Shh. And she put her finger up to his lips. Meanwhile, the investigators are trying to build their case against Tom, and it's not the strongest case. I mean, Tom knew way in advance that he was cut from the will. He had nothing to gain from killing his parents. There wasn't a clear-cut motive, but the tension in the family had been reaching a breaking point. In fact, Walter was the one that was often heard threatening his own son's life. Walter had said this about his own son. He said, if Tommy were to drop dead today, I would not go to his funeral. If he was dying and he ever called me, I would not lift a finger to help him. I would do everything I can to ruin him. So Tommy's in prison, miserable, feeling helpless. He can't help his wife, even though being in jail is making her medical conditions worse. His grandparents are conflicted. They want to help him, but can they really, since they don't know if he just murdered their son? They go to trial, and it doesn't go well. Patricia was somehow able to sit on the defense table, and anytime she was mad at how things were going in court, she would punch Tom in the ribs in court, under the table, and the judge saw it. One time she was bored, and I guess she was lacking the attention that she wanted, so she faked a heart attack in the middle of court. At one time, she pointed at a random man and whispered to Tom, while court is in session, oh my God, Tom, that man raped me, and she fainted. It was a lot, but somehow she was never kicked out of court. But I do think that it affected his case. In the end, Tom was found guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder. When Patricia heard the verdict, her eyes filled with tears, and she was about to faint again. He was sentenced to 2 life sentences to be served concurrently, but he would be eligible for parole in 7 years. Patricia didn't give a shit that he was in jail. She just gave a shit that her precious plantation was at risk. She was even heard saying, I would rather burn down the place. I'll be damned if I let the bank foreclose and someone else gets to live here. And what do we know? Around Christmas that year, Kentwood Farms burned to the ground. Luckily, no animals were harmed, but it burned down the entire house, the barn, and the stables. Patricia was able to collect insurance, and for a moment she was happy until it was sucked all into Tom's legal fees. So now she's broke, without a home, and she's got no spending money. So what does she do? She writes to Tom's grandparents as the doting granddaughter-in-law and wants to see them. She turns on her charm, runs errands for them, spent time with Pa and Nona. She would even do the chores in their house. This is a woman that never did freaking chores in her own house. And it worked. Sure, they had mixed feelings about Tom, but they felt that Patricia was a victim too. Her husband was in prison. She was confused. She didn't know how to feel. On one hand, she loves Tom, just like the grandparents love their grandson. But, man, if he really did do this horrible thing, it's just so conflicting. So they took her in like a granddaughter that they never had. They felt bad for her hip injury. At one point, it got so bad, Patricia had to use a wheelchair. But they didn't know that she was digging into the wound deeper and deeper. It's unclear why she was doing this. A lot of people speculate that she loved being frail and weak.
What is she doing?
Literally taking a fist-sized flesh out of her hip. Just chunks of her flesh are being carved out. And she would need a wheelchair to move.
What?
People said that she loved feeling weak, that there was no medical record of her having any POTS or any reason to have fainting spells, dizzy spells. It seemed that she just kind of upped the ante each time. She also tried to slit her wrists, but the wounds were very superficial, and she theatrically put on a white nightgown and ran barefoot around the forest. And her parents were running after her, worried, chased her down in pitch blackness, and it was raining. So it was a lot. Patricia was taken to a psychiatric hospital, and they noted that Patricia would use the phone to call her daughter and exaggerate her injuries, like grossly exaggerate them, to make her daughter feel guilty for something that she didn't even do. She was given antipsychotic drugs for her personality disorder, but Patricia would stop taking them. She would eventually need surgery for her fist-sized missing flesh in her butt. It was bad. It was a huge abscess with a huge bunch of scar tissue. Again, I don't know why Patricia did this for attention. I mean, she loved telling people that she was going to die soon, that she was weak and frail, but she also used this as an opportunity to ask her doctors to write a letter to the prisons to ask them to keep Tom at the prison close by. It kind of implies that Patricia was more involved than she's letting on, and she needed to control Tom in prison. A little while later, Grandpa Pa suffers a heart attack, but not before he changes his will to include Patricia. In fact, Walter, his son, is dead. His grandson, Tom, is in prison, and his daughter, Jean Allenson, wasn't even included in his will. It's just Pat. It was wild. I don't know how she got them to agree. I imagine she sat there bad-mouthing Jean to them, and in their vulnerable, weakened cognitive state, they believed her. Patricia just took over from there. She moved into their house and was their primary caretaker. She gave them their meals, their medications. She even started telling the couple's doctor that Pa was drinking a ton, which was weird because Grandpa Pa never drank. One day, the doctor gets a call. Pat said, "Grandpa Pa is comatose. You need to come over." The doctor rushes to find Pa, and he noted that Patricia was just going about her normal day. She was just cleaning up the house, as if someone wasn't comatose upstairs. It was odd. He calls an ambulance over, and as they're waiting, Patricia tells the doctor that Pa is delusional. He tried to murder Nona a couple nights ago, straight up tried to smother her with a pillow. Yeah, the scars on Pa's arms were from Nona fighting back. The doctor felt a chill down his spine. Nona was half paralyzed. She wouldn't be capable of scratching Pa's arms. But Patricia continued. I think Grandpa Pa tried to kill himself. I think he was trying to give himself arsenic poisoning. Why would he do that? Well, because he confessed to killing his son, Walter.
What?
So she's accusing Grandpa Pa of confessing to killing his son, Walter, and that it wasn't the grandson that did it. So, of course, Grandpa Pa is rushed to the hospital to be treated, but let's explore Patricia's claims. She said Pa had her type out a confession for him, since he can't type well, and he did sign the last page of the confession, and it was even notarized, but the last page said nothing. The last page was like, "Love you, everyone," and then, like, signature. But the other 2 pages of the confession that we can assume that Grandpa Pa never saw said things along the lines of, "Hi, I'm Grandpa Pa, and I'm telling this to my granddaughter, Pat Allenson. She is doing it on the typewriter because I can't write good anymore since I had the heart attack." Now, I just want to say that if I'm going to die, I know nobody's going to believe Tommy if he told them the truth. The confession letter describes what, quote, actually happened. Grandpa Pa said he cut the phone lines because Walter threatened to kill Nona. So he's saying my son threatened to kill my wife, his mother. And because the grandparents were helping Tom in this feud, Walter was pissed and he was like, "I'm going to kill you too." So Pa wanted to kill his own son for wanting to kill his wife. I mean, the whole thing is weird. It was all off. The police knew it. Patricia knew it. And when the doctors found high amounts of arsenic in Pa's urine, hair, nail samples, Patricia was charged with attempted murder. She would later accuse those same detectives of sexually abusing her. Now, I don't want to say I don't believe her, but when it comes to Pat Allenson, I truly have a hard time believing anything she says. Patricia went on to trial. She was found guilty of 2 counts of attempted murder. This caused the breakup. Finally, the 2 divorced. Yeah, this is what happens when your wife tries to kill your parents, allegedly, and is successfully convicted of attempting to kill your grandparents. So the theory of what actually happened. Well, it seems like Patricia had an accomplice. Maybe her family, someone she trusted that would protect her. Maybe they helped her cut the power lines. Maybe they helped her cut the phone lines. And Patricia convinced her husband to hide in the basement. And maybe she expected that they would all die in the shootout. So it's alleged that Patricia wanted to get rid of Walter, Big Caroline, but also Tom. And she felt that if they're all dead, she would get all the money. She would be the natural heir because she was at least still married to Tom. I don't know. It doesn't make perfect sense either. Some people argue that she's just one of those people that wanted everyone to dance to her whim, and if they didn't, they needed to be eliminated. Just a vengeful person.
Yeah, I can see that.
But we do know, and this would get her attention for sure. Imagine your husband was murdered by his parents, and they all killed each other, she could be the sad, grieving widow. What we do know is that before Patricia was arrested, she tried to kill Tom in prison. She tried to convince him to enter into a suicide pact with her where she had no intention of killing herself. They would both commit suicide together, him in prison, her in her house. Anyway, Patricia would only serve 7 years in prison for attempted murder. Tom got out as well. He turned his life around. He had his own farm. And remember Liz Price, the one that said he was God's gift to women? She had a crush on Tom when she was young, remember?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Well, they reconnected and they got married.
Wow.
Yeah. Tom was able to reconnect with his kids. He even found a job, and he seems to be super happy. Meanwhile, Patricia tried to allegedly murder another wealthy family in Georgia. For some reason, when she got out, nobody did a background check, and she was hired as an elderly couple's live-in caretaker, along with her daughter, Debbie. She and her daughter were hired, and they went straight to work. For a year, they separated the elderly couple, drugged them up, giving themselves raises, and even stealing all the valuables from the house. Eventually, the wealthy parents' kids caught on and had Pat and Debbie fired. But they weren't arrested until Susan, Patricia's eldest daughter, came along. She was cleaning up the house, and she had found that Patricia had recorded all of her prison phone calls with Tom. And in one of them, Patricia was urging Tom to kill himself. And Susan was sick to her stomach. If her mom was capable of this, what else was her mom capable of? She tipped off the DA's office, and Patricia and Debbie were arrested. Patricia was given 8 years in prison, and eventually she was released, and she opened up an antique doll shop. You know those creepy dolls that seem haunted? And she called it Pat's Pretty Playthings. What?
That is so eerie.
In 2008, she was charged with doctor shopping and fraudulently obtaining a ton of painkillers.
What's doctor shopping?
It's like where you go from doctor and doctor and you just try to get painkillers.
Got it.
She didn't get jail time, just probation. And it's unclear if Patricia is still alive or what she's doing. If she is alive, she's in her 80s and in Georgia somewhere. So just saying, if you see an 80-year-old in Georgia, you better watch out. But the whole thing is just terrifying. And this is the story of a woman that tried to kill all 3 generations of an entire family. For what? We'll likely never know. And that's it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys on Sunday for the mini-sode. Bye.
Ramble.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Welcome to this week's mini-sode of Rotten Mango. I'm your host, Stephanie Sue. And they say Lake Erie is haunted. Well, they say that all the Great Lakes are haunted. It's said that over 6,000 shipwrecks have taken place in the Great Lakes. Hundreds of them are still undiscovered. That means thousands of bodies are at the bottom of these massive lakes in the United States. And when I say lakes, if you're not from the US, or maybe you are and you've never been to one, me, but if you go to like all the Reddit threads, lake is an understatement. These bodies of water are so massive. They're frightening. They're scary. It's almost like this pit of nothingness. You don't really know what's going on. Now, the lady of the lake is often associated with Lake Erie, which, yeah, the name itself is pretty eerie. They call it Erie Erie. Eerie as in like creepy, right? So if you know anything about urban legends, you might think that the Lady of the Lake is just some sort of rumor, some sort of ghost that haunts the dark lake in the middle of the night. One might say that her lover had cheated on her. Maybe he took his mistress upon a boat on Lake Erie, and the lady had shown up to overturn their boat, and all 3 of them met their fate in the murky waters. Maybe teenagers report seeing her floating across the still water, her long white gown dripping wet, her hair in front of her face weeping. Maybe she appears to men on boats or couples on boats, warning them that danger is ahead.
Gampang kok desainnya. Gampang. Nenek mau ngetrit. Nenek.
Do you ever wonder how
I knew a girl once with fire in her eyes, a face like painted glass, and a knife straight through her thigh. We played it fast and young, but our love was strong, and I made up my mind till she whispered, "Don't fear, my dear, I will be clear in time." It's a beautiful night for a bloodbath. Oh, darling, dance with me. Feel the beat in your chest, let your feet to the rest, and make this dance complete. It takes two to tango, takes two to swing, it takes two like you and me. My dear, my femme fatale, please make this dance complete. I knew a boy once with a streak of silver hair, a rough chin like alligator skin, regal stance and an eagle-eyed stare. We placed a gamble with our hands on our hearts, made a blood pact deal till death do us part. I knew his heart was mine, but his soul was inside. It's a beautiful night for a bloodbath. Oh, darling, dance with me. Feel the beat in your chest, let your feet to the rest, and make this dance complete. It takes two to tango, takes two to swing, it takes two like you and me. My dear, my femme fatale, please make this dance complete. All of this time I thought you were mine, but I guess that I was deceived. Right from the start, you thought that you wrote me. Maybe in another life we could have done this right, me and more, but I guess we'll never know for sure. It's a beautiful night for a bloodbath. Oh, darling, dance with me. Feel the beat in your chest, let your feet to the rest, and make this dance complete. It takes two to tango, it takes two to swing, it takes two like you and me. My femme fatale, please make this dance complete. It takes two like you and me. Please make this dance complete. More than meets the eye, to tell the truth would be a lie. I saw her out on Friday night, misunderstood. She's balling for a guy, that cigarette, it needs a light. Pluck up the courage and invite her nowhere good. 'Cause I need this more than just a one night stand. Need that honey when she hold my hand. Times like this, they call for true romance, but she's not ready for that. She lets me down, then gets me high. Oh, I don't know why, she's just my type. She's my advice, I don't think twice. one who's in my sheets, 'cause she's no good. She defies all of my dreams and expectations. She won't meet. I pack my bags and try to leave. I wish I could. 'Cause I need this more than just a one night stand. Need that honey when she hold my hand. Times like this they call for true romance, but she's not ready for that. She lets me down, then gets me high. Oh, I don't know why, she's just my type. She's my device, I don't think twice. Oh, I don't know why, she's what I like. But I love it, I love it. Love the way she plays with my head. She lets me down, then gets me high. Oh, I don't know why, she's just my type. Let me see, I hate to tell the truth would be a lie. I saw her out again last night, misunderstood. And I'll never be a guy that cigarettes still needs a light. And when I take her back to mine, it's nothing good. 'Cause I need this more than just a one night stand. Need that honey when she hold my hand. Times like this they call for true romance, but she's not ready for that. She lets me down, then gets me high. Oh, I don't know why, she's just my type. She's my advice, I don't think twice. Oh, I don't know why, she's what I like. But I love it, I love it. Love the way she plays in my head. She lets me down, then gets me high. Oh, I don't know why, she's just my type. Oh, she's just my type. Yeah, she's got just what I like. And she's just my type. Oh, yeah, she's just my type. That wasn't funny, but she laughed so hard she almost cried. They're counting months they've been together, almost 49. He's making fun of how she acted around the holidays. She wears a ring, but they tell people that they're not engaged. They met in class for metaphysical philosophy. He tells his friends I like her 'cause she's so much smarter than me. They're having talks about their futures until 4 a.m. and I'm happy for them. But I wanna feel all that love and emotion, be that attached to the person I'm holding. Someday I'll be falling without caution, but for now I'm only people watching. I'm only looking just to live through you vicariously. I've never really been in love, not seriously. I had a dream about a house behind a picket fence. Next one I choose to trust, I hope I use some common sense. But I cut people out like tags on my clothing. I end up all alone, but I still keep hoping. I wanna feel all that love and emotion, be that attached to the person I'm holding. Someday I'll be falling without caution, but for now I'm only people watching. Cut people out like tags on my clothing. I
your mind. 'Cause coffee cups are getting cold. Mind the people passing by. They don't know I'll be leaving soon. I'll fly away tomorrow to far away. I'll admit a cliche, things won't be the same without you. I'll be looking out my window, seeing Adelaide sky. Would you be kind enough to remember? And I'll be hearing my own footsteps under Adelaide sky. Would you be kind enough to remember me? I let you know what's on my mind. I wish they made you portable. Then I carry you around and round. I bet you look good on me. I'll fly away tomorrow. It's been fun. I repeat the cliche, things won't be the same without you. I'll be looking out my window, seeing Adelaide sky. Would you be kind enough to remember? And I'll be hearing my own footsteps under Adelaide sky. Would you be kind enough to remember? I've been meaning to call you soon. We're in different times. You might not be home now, but would you take a message? I'll try to stay awake and fight your presence in my head. And I'll be looking out my window, seeing Adelaide sky. Would you be kind enough to remember? And I'll be hearing my own footsteps under Adelaide sky. Would you be kind enough to remember? And I'll be looking out my window, seeing Adelaide sky. Would you be kind enough to remember? And I'll be hearing my own footsteps under Adelaide sky. Would you be kind enough to remember me?
You're a different kind of beautiful, the kind that makes me scared, the kind that makes me turn around and act like I'm not there, the kind that takes my breath away and leaves me without air. Maybe I'm delusional, you're just that kind of beautiful. I grab an order and head to the bar. I place an order, a tip in the jar, a couple of dollars I had in my car. I turn the corner and that's when I see you in the corner, they're staring at me, mind out of order and heart on my sleeve. I was hoping that I'd run into you here, but now I'm stumbling and I can't seem to figure this out. Now I'm broken and I'm crumbling in the open and it's troubling, but I see you and it fills me with doubt. You're a different kind of beautiful, the kind that makes me scared, the kind that makes me turn around and act like I'm not there, the kind that takes my breath away try to speak, but I can't find the words. Knees getting weak and my speech getting slurred. Hands feeling heavy and vision is blurred. I don't even know what I wanted to say. Didn't expect to be feeling this way. You turn your head and then you walk away. I was hoping that I'd run into you here, but now I'm stumbling and I can't seem to figure this out. Now I'm broken and I'm crumbling in the open and it's troubling, but I see you and it fills me with doubt. You're a different kind of beautiful, the kind that makes me scared, the kind that makes me turn around and act like I'm not there, the kind that takes my breath away and leaves me without air. Maybe I'm delusional, you're just that kind of beautiful, different kind of beautiful, the kind that makes me fear, the kind that makes me turn around and act like I'm not here, the kind that takes my breath away every time you're near. Maybe I'm delusional, you're just that kind of beautiful, and I'm helpless, and I'm helpless, yeah, I'm helpless.
Stay away, don't try to read my feelings. Hate the way you try to keep believing all the shit I put you through. I'm fucking sick of me with you. Don't come close for any fucking reason. Don't you know I'm tired of you dealing with all the shit I put you through. I'm fucking sick of me with you. And not the words I wanna say, but it's probably better off this way. 'Cause you could ever understand that this is just the way I am. I'm the villain no one ever misses. Everybody wishes I leave them alone. 'Cause I can't make it right, I can't save a life. I'm the criminal, gotta say I'm the villain. Gotta keep my distance, even if I miss them I won't let them know. I'll be the villain on my own. So I spend my time away from everybody in my life. I'd hate for anybody to think I just need someone's help when I can't be with someone else. 'Cause anyone that's ever been around me wishes they could just forget about me. All I do is hurt my friends and hope they won't come back again. When all I want's to be with them, I'm only human in the end. But I won't try to make them stay, they'd probably leave me anyway. 'Cause I'm the villain no one ever misses. Everybody wishes I leave them alone. 'Cause I can't make it right, I can't save a life. I'm the criminal, gotta say I'm the villain. Gotta keep my distance, even if I miss them I won't let them know. I'll be the villain on my own. Don't say that you see the good in me. Don't say that you see that I could be the one you really need. I'm gonna be the enemy. Don't say I can make it up. Don't say that I've changed enough. I'll never be the one. Can't forget the things I've done. I'm the villain no one ever misses. Everybody wishes I leave them alone. 'Cause I can't make it right, I can't save a life. I'm the criminal, gotta say I'm the villain. Gotta keep my distance, even if I miss them I won't let them know. I'll be the villain, I'll be the villain on my own.
I stay up late and I talk to the moon. I can't stop telling him all about you. Wonder if you do the same thing I do. These four white walls, they know more than my friends. They watch me type messages I'll never send. This is the place that I just can't pretend to be. Alright, is your bedroom ceiling board like mine? staring at it all the time. 'Cause it seems so many nights where I cry and I yell at the sky for not telling you how I feel. Is your bedroom ceiling bored like mine? I get up early and talk to the sun, ask her for guidance, but she ain't got none. How am I supposed to know you're not the one? I'm begging to the mirror, 'cause I can't find an answer. Too busy falling apart, and I wonder if you're moving on. If you are, what's your secret? 'Cause I can't work out where to start. Is your bedroom ceiling board like mine? Of you staring at it all the time? 'Cause it seems so many nights where I cry and I yell at the sky for not telling you how I feel. Is your bedroom ceiling board like mine? I stay up late and I talk to the moon, but I can't stop telling him all about you. Wonder if you do the same thing I do. I get up early and talk to the sun, ask her for guidance, but she ain't got none. Wonder if you do the same thing I do. I hope you do. Is your bedroom ceiling board like mine? Of you staring at it all the time? 'Cause it seems so many nights where I cry and I yell at the sky for not telling you how I feel. Is your bedroom ceiling board? Is your bedroom ceiling board like mine?
She's indecisive, she can't decide. She keeps on looking from left to right. Girl, come a bit closer, look in my eyes. Searching is so wrong. You seem like the type to love 'em and leave 'em and disappear right after this song. So give me the night to show you, hold you. Don't leave me out here dancing alone. You can't make up your mind, 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 mind. Please don't waste my time, 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 time. Not trying to rewind, wind, 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 wind. I wish our hearts could come together as one. Shorty is an eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover. 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 Let me show you what you're missing. Paradise, with me you're winning, girl. You don't have to roll the dice. Tell me what you're really here for. Them other guys, I can see right through ya. You seem like the type to love 'em and leave 'em and disappear right after this song. So give me the night to show you, hold you. Don't leave me out here dancing alone. You can't make up your mind, 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 mind. Please don't waste my time, 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 time. Not trying to rewind, wind, 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 wind. I wish our hearts could come together as one. Shorty is an eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover. 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 You can't make up your mind, 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 mind. waste my time. Not trying to rewind, wind. I wish our hearts could come together as one. But shorty isn't eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover. 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 My
I'm gonna fuck you up, feeding off that summer love. I ain't got nobody like you.
Yeah. I'm gon' fuck you up, feeding off that summer love. I ain't got nobody like you. I'm gon' fuck you up, face to face, it breaks my heart. I ain't got nobody like you. You got the mind for it, the type to ride with it. You got that simple, silly smile, and I could die for it. I gotta find a way, and I don't mean to play, but something tells me it won't take you long to latch on and stand. Look me in the eyes, I don't fake it. I don't mean to hurt you, I'll admit. I'm gon' fuck you up, feeding off that summer love. I ain't got nobody like you. I'm gon' fuck you up, face to face, it breaks my heart. I ain't got nobody like you. Look at you now, ain't it? Hard to escape from it. See my intentions, they were pure, and now your heart's in it. You say you know the way to get me to stay. I know I'm always on the run, that doesn't need to change. Look me in the eyes, I don't fake it. I don't mean to hurt you, I'll admit. I'm gon' fuck you up, feeding off that summer love. I ain't got nobody like you. I'm gon' fuck you up, face to face, it breaks my heart. I ain't got nobody like you. Nobody like you, yeah. I ain't got nobody like you. Nobody like you, yeah. I ain't got nobody like you.
I can't stop feeling like none of this matters. Fool around, tell me words that you don't mean. I'm already numb to it. I'm already numb to it. Feed me lies, tear me up, break me down. I don't wanna be playing these games. I'm already used to them. I'm already used to you being this cold, but keeping you close shouldn't be hard. If you were honest when you said you missed me, you played with my pride, making me feel like we had something real. I know we've been over this, it's nothing new. You're still gonna believe in me here. It's easier hating you than missing you, but I don't wanna be feeling this way. I'm already through with it. I'm already tired of thinking at all, 'cause keeping you close say to you, you're gone. I've been trying in vain to hold on. No matter what I say, keeping you close shouldn't be hard. If you were honest when you said you missed me, you've played with my pride, making me feel like we had something real, and making you stay shouldn't feel wrong. This is the last time I'll ask you to listen. I've played all my cards. Would you feel a thing if you saw me right now?
I went for a weekend, turned into a week. I said I'll be back in the summer, ended up falling in too deep. It's less like a feeling and more like a rush. I wanna say everything, but you're not listening, so I don't say too much. Oh, I climbed to the top of your roof, want forever here under the moon. If only you wanted it too. Ooh, 'cause I'd stay, cancel my flights, change everything just to be in your life. Homesick, but I'd leave it behind to be with you night after night. Oh, I'd unpack my bags if you wanted me to, but I'm just a tourist to you. Yeah, I'm feeling the heat up, kinda missing the cold. You say you'll visit Toronto if I ever make it home. Don't know if I'm staying or waiting until I go broke. At least till this view gets old. Ooh, we climb back down into your room. No, we've ran out of things we could do. But God, if you're asking me to, ooh, I hope you know that I'd stay, cancel my flights, change everything just to be in your life. Homesick, but I leave it behind to be with you night after night after night. Never been right until you look back at me and have that same look in your eye. Holding me close and say you'll come with me, 'cause I'd stay, cancel my flights, change everything just to be in your life. Homesick, leave it behind to be with you night after night after night. I'd stay, cancel my flights, change everything just to be in your life. Homesick, but I leave it behind to be with you night after night. Oh, I'd unpack my bags if you wanted me to, but I'm just a tourist to you. She walked in with the friends, and now I'm tripping off the deep end. So call me a lift or a She said, I know your dying wishes to be baptized in my spit. And then she walked away. I didn't get her name, I can't explain the look on her face. She wore a sweater in summer weather, yeah. She wore a sweater, it was funeral gray. And now it's killing me. I just want you to be my next mistake that I'm gonna make. She wore a sweater in summer weather, yeah. She wore a sweater, it was funeral gray. For my way, I'm mountain for you. For my way, I'm mountain for you. She walked away, I didn't get her name, I can't explain the look on her face. She wore a sweater in summer weather, yeah. She wore a sweater, it was funeral gray. And now it's killing me. I just want you to be my next mistake that I'm gonna make. She wore a sweater in summer weather, yeah. She wore a sweater, it was funeral gray. For my way, I'm mountain for you. For my way, I'm mountain for you.
It was 6:48, I was walking home. Stepped to the gate and I'm all alone. I had chicken on the plate, but the food was cold. Then I covered up my face so that no one knows. I didn't want trouble. I'm the boy in the bubble. But then came trouble. When my mom walked into the living room, she said, boy, you gotta tell me what they did to you. I said, you don't wanna know the things I had to do. She said, son, you gotta tell me why you're black and blue. I said, I didn't want trouble. I'm the boy in the bubble. But then came trouble. And my heart was pumping, chest was screaming, mind was running, air was freezing. Put my hands up, put my hands up. I told this kid I'm ready for a fight. Punch my face, do it 'cause I like the pain. Every time you curse my name, I know you want the satisfaction. It's not gonna happen. Knock me out, kick me when I'm on the ground. It's only gonna let you down. Come the lightning and the thunder, you're the one who suffer. Well, I squared him up, left my chest exposed. He threw a quick left hook and it broke my nose. I had thick red blood running down my clothes and a sick look 'cause I liked it though. I said I didn't want trouble. I'm the boy in the bubble. But then came trouble. And my heart was pumping, chest was screaming, mind was running, nose was bleeding. Put my hands up, put my hands up. I told this kid I'm ready for a fight. Punch my face, do it 'cause I like the pain. Every time you curse my name, I know you want the satisfaction. It's not gonna happen. Knock me out, kick me when I'm on the ground. It's only gonna let you down. Come the lightning and the thunder, you're the one who suffers. It was 6:48, he was walking home with the blood on his hands from a broken nose. But like every other day, he was scared to go back to his house 'cause his pops was home, drowning his troubles in whiskey bubbles, just looking for trouble. Well, there's no excuse for the things he did, but there's a lot at home that he's dealing with 'cause his dad's been drunk since he was a kid. And I hope one day that I'll say to him, put down those bubbles and that belt buckle in this broken bubble. Punch my face, do it 'cause I like the pain. Every time you curse my name, I know you want the satisfaction. It's not gonna happen. Knock me out, kick me when I'm on the ground. It's only gonna let you down. Come the lightning and the thunder, you're the one who suffer.
Someone arrived today. They said they're taking you away, that you're not mine to save. And soon I won't get to see your face, so I came by to say, you're unlike anyone I have ever known, 'cause you're all I've ever known. And if I pushed you, or if I came on too strong, or if I ambushed you, for that I'll say I was wrong. And if you hate me, then I am sorry, my love's too much for you. But I'm not sorry for loving you.
I'm not sorry for loving you.
I'm not sorry for loving you.
I'm not sorry for loving you. Calypso.
Let me speak. I spent my whole life here, was cast away when I was young, alone for 100 years. I had no friends but the sky and sun. So when you washed ashore, I thought for sure that you were my dream come true. I thought I knew. So if I pushed you, or if I came on too strong, or if I ambushed you, for that I'll say I was wrong. And if you hate me, then I am sorry, my love's too much for you. But I'm not sorry for loving you.
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 I'm not sorry, I'm angry and tired and restless and sad. I'm stuck in the moments I swore that we had. I wish you would chase me or try to embrace me for once. I wish you would lie and say
I love you,
you do.
but not in the way that you want me to.
I hate that I fell in love with you.
Hate that I fell in love with you.
Why did I fall in love with you?
Why did I fall in love with you?
What do I do with this love for you?
What do I do with this love for you?
How am I supposed to get over you?
How am I supposed to get over you?
Why in the world won't you love me too?
夜の始まりさ、パニックが誘惑される鼓動に弾け飛ぶカットに愛を乾杯伝えられなくても恋の始まりさ、パニックが誰かをうがって澄んだ君の目をはらんでキザなステップを刻んで仕事帰りの疲れは私とこのグラスにさあ自分好みにすがって世間に対する気持ち私に注いでみないありがちなラブソングでも愛が込められてるのそれでも汚れる夜の始まりさパニックが誘惑される鼓動に弾け飛ぶカットに愛を乾杯伝えられなくても恋の始まりさパニックが誰かをうがって澄んだ君の目をはらんで 何か渡せよ